My name is Kirt Graves, and what I do is a long story. My day job is that I work for an IT company in Sheboygan called AdCom Technologies. So that's what pays the bills. And then I'm also the forensics advisor at Sheboygan North High School. So that is my second job. And then in my spare time, I decided it would be a good idea to create a podcast and blog called Forensics Faces. Which I believe led people to believe that I would be a good candidate for president of the Wisconsin Forensic Coaches Association, and I said yes to that. I think my favorite answer for that question is that it is competitive speech, acting, and interpretation of literature. That I think is the most concise answer, and it's the one I've heard most often from other people. Oftentimes that does require more explanation, because people either, one, don't understand what interpretation of literature means, speech and acting are pretty well understood, or they don't understand how it could be competitive. And so at that point, you do move forward to explain that, I work with high school students, and there are a certain number of categories and that they can choose from, and we work on making them as professional sounding as they can be, and then they go into a room with other people and they're ranked. So, and at that point, people normally get it, and that's normally when the light goes on for them and they start comparing it to something else that they understand. Oh, so it's like a solo ensemble with music, or oh, it's like when I was in speech class when I was in high school. My proudest moment by far was my very first year as the official head coach of Sheboygan North. One of my students was in the finals at CFL Nationals in extemporaneous speaking. And it wasn't even the final round that was my proudest moment. It was finally being done with my judging commitments, getting to see him in his semifinal round. He was first speaker, gave the best speech I had ever heard him give. And it was a speech very similar to ones he had given a couple times before that we had worked on. And so I felt like, okay, I actually got to have a hand in this a little bit. Those extempors by their senior year are often so independent. It's hard to take credit for anything. But, we had worked on this, and so there was that little bit of feeling like, okay, I maybe helped. But to see him confident and ready and funny and personable and knowledgeable, and then to watch the next 5 speakers and walk out of the room going, he just made it to finals. To just know he made it to finals. And after that, didn't matter. It was the culmination of a young kid who worked hard, who was also a giant pain in the ass. But to see that moment, that's probably my greatest accomplishment as a coach. And the other one is, starting the podcast. It took a bit of courage for me to go, you know what, I'm just going to do this. And they may hate it. And they might say, I don't want to, please stop doing this. We really don't want to be attached to this at all. And it was, that's a possibility, and that could have happened. And my only regret with the podcast is I haven't been able to do more. I wish I had the time to do it more often, but I think it's been embraced, and people like it, and they find it valuable, and I love it because I get to talk to people. It gives me a reason to sit down with people I just really like and pick their brain and get some information. So I would say those are my 2 proudest moments.